Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for October 15, 2012. Could we have a roll call, please?
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Martin Manick.
Present.
Paul Lemoyne.
Here.
Gerard Renadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 284, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of October 1st, 2012 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion. Mr. Wood, second Mr. Lemoyne. Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Abstain.
Paul Lemoyne.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, motion's carried. This portion of the meeting where we invite anyone who'd like to address the board, we ask you to state your name and address for the record and try and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is John Andrus, and I have a brochure and bulletin I'd like to dispense to each of you. Find it.
The same one that you had,
Possibly. I'd like to be redundant.
thank you.
I got an extra one.
Give me two.
Okay. Thank you. Basically, what this bulletin identifies is the economy, local conditions, local home values, local home assessments, unemployment rates, high property tax based on assessed value, tax foreclosure rates in Clinton County. And this has been double checked, triple checked. And this is the state of the economy that we find ourselves in outside of the town of Plattsburgh Town Hall. People are suffering. The economy is in dire straits. I told you about the little lady next to me who's 75 or 76 years old. I mean, she's living off of Social Security, blind in one eye, and is having a difficult struggle making ends meet, especially with the increase in heating bills, increase in the price of gasoline, and increase in the price of food. And on the backside of this, Town of Plattsburgh leadership trend, this is somewhat of a challenge to the town leadership, you gentlemen. 33% increase in town spending includes 81% medical insurance, 60% increase in town employee benefits, 15% increase in town payroll, 86% increase in special district taxes, 34% in assessment, 16% increase outstanding debt, 125% increase in bookkeeper's salary. I find this very disturbing in terms of the expenditures that you're allowing at this point in time, and everything I read, I would hope that we read some of the same material and we're tuned into the same newscasts, CNN, Congressional Budget Office, New York State Comptroller. They're all telling us we're heading for another recession, depression, a big one. It's going to be as bad as 2008, 2009, if not worse. What we're asking you to do is freeze spending. Basically freeze your budget 2012 where you're at, cut back some of the excess that you identify. We know there's a surplus in this budget, so you should be able to survive easily into 2013 without increasing taxes. You're looking at a 4.28% tax increase. I don't understand it with the excess revenues that you have in your funds, all of your funds. I also don't understand the, Mr. Lemoy's compilation on the lighting district and what that's going to achieve in terms of the benefit for the town and the townspeople. I just don't see it. There's one other concern that I'll bring up tonight. I don't know if I have an opportunity to bring it up again. Basically, on the water and sewer, my background is somewhat in environmental. And I know that, I think it was Mr. Stoddard who mentioned, or maybe it was Mr. Renadet who's overseeing that committee, of the town aquifers, the well system, the well farm, as you refer to it. And they're talking about putting in a new 6-inch line into that well farm. I just hope and pray that you have some additional third-party assessments on that well farm, hydrologists, people who have expertise in that type of operation, and spend a little money, bring them in, and get some estimates of, is this really the right thing to do, to put another 6-inch pipe into that farm field, or that well field? Because if that goes out, we're out of water in this town, and that's a lot of people that are gonna be without water. The other advice would be to find a new farm, or a new field, a new well, because putting all your eggs in one basket is really not a good idea, and that's essentially what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna have 4 wells pumping out of that artesian. It just seems to me not to be the prudent thing to do at this point in time. I'd really like to see somebody come in there who's a hydrologist, who knows these soils, and understands what's going to happen to that artesian well field when you put another 6-inch pipe. Maybe you have the answers already, I'm not aware of them, but I really would appreciate and feel more comfortable if you did that at least. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay,
Bernie, if I could, I don't want to turn this into a debate, but yes, Jack, we have retained a hydrologist to take a look at it.
Good.
It was their recommendation that we pursue a larger line. As far as more well fields, again, I'm not trying to throw back what you just threw at us, but you told us to cut spending and to rein it in, so to speak. Where are we gonna find the money to find these new well farms if we have to rein in spending? Everything comes at a cost.
I'll show you where.
All we've been trying to do is maintain the infrastructure that we have, and we don't intend to do it all in one year, but that's,
Okay.
okay, so we are trying to protect the infrastructure. And I'm sorry, but I'm not prepared to get into a debate. I just wanted to answer your question, that we did hire a hydrologist. We have to take a look at that, and we're very cognizant of the fact that if we mess up here, we put a lot of people out of business as far as being able to turn their tap on.
And
Very
this
good.
is very good politics, scaring everybody. When in actuality, we discussed how much it would cost if we fixed the whole system all at once, and we come up with these kind of figures. And we talked about bonding, and I'm one of the first ones to say that we need to fix the things that are falling apart, and that we need to do these kind of things. And if we have to spend the money, we didn't have to spend the money. But to put it on here, that this is what we're planning on doing, when we have a work session and we're just discussing these things, which makes it very difficult to have a work session where we can discuss anything. If you're gonna take whatever figures you got there and make up these sheets to scare everybody throughout the town. I'm very, very disappointed in this type of thing.
anyone else like to make comment at this time? All right, thank you, both of you. Resolution 285, abstract 10B.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 10B-12, 2183 to 2324 for $593,092.48. An abstract 10B-12, 418 to 441 prepaid in the amount of $916,632.29. Be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Have a motion.
So move.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Renaud, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution's carried. Resolution 286, historian's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a historian's monthly report for the month of September 2012.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second, Mr. Renadette. And is there any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 287, Planning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Phil Von Bargen, Planning and Engineering Department Head for the month of October 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second, Mr. Lemoyne. Any discussion?
Just for information, the balloon was flown over at night.
Oh, I didn't, I wasn't here, so you got to see that. Any concerns? Nothing
Well,
notable?
then I had a few people ask why there was a balloon, small balloon flying over the nice little property.
Okay. Anything else? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 288, Water Wastewater Department's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Scott Stoddard, Water and Wastewater Director for the month of September 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Mr. Wood, I thought I heard something, but I wasn't sure.
Oh, okay.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 289, setting a public hearing for the 2013 preliminary budget and certain elected officials' salaries.
Whereas a public notice for the preliminary budget and certain elected officials' salaries must be shared. Therefore be resolved that this notice of hearing entitled, setting a public hearing for the 2013 preliminary budget and certain elected official salaries shall be published once in the local newspaper and posted in the town hall as indicated. Notice is hereby given that the preliminary budget of the town of Plattsburgh for the beginning year, January 1, 2013, will be compiled and filed in the office of the town clerk on or before October 31st, 2012. Further notice is hereby given that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, will meet and review said preliminary budget and hold a public hearing thereon at the town hall located at Banker Road in the town of Plattsburgh, Clinton County, New York, on Thursday, November 8, 2012, at 6:35 p.m. prevailing time. At such hearing, any person may be heard in favor or against the preliminary budget as compiled for or against any item or items therein contained. As noted, resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to have published in the Press Republican notice of said public hearing to be held in the town hall, Baker Road, and a copy of the preliminary budget will be available for inspection by all interested persons at the town hall at the Baker Road between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. It is be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget office.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Lemoyne, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Mhm.
One, and I'm sorry to be asking these at this time, for whatever reason, when I read this, what I'm thinking of tonight did not come into my head, so I didn't think to ask the questions earlier. But for council persons, it says 4,
Correct,
okay? It does not have the deputy supervisor.
correct. Advice from Council Association of Towns, that's an appointed position, not an elected. That is a stipend that can be managed by the board and the supervisor in any form, shape, or manner, including appointing someone who is not an elected official.
But the deputy supervisor is one of your council persons and should be included there.
We were advised that the salary of the deputy was not, it should be 4, not 3.
Right.
Yep.
I'm arguing the wrong argument. I
Okay.
didn't see
Well,
the 3.
You are arguing a good argument, but that was for something that we.
Yes,
Okay.
we will amend, Paul, you made the motion, Gerard
Yep.
concurs?
No, we don't have to.
That would be 4 instead of 3,
Yes,
is
I'll
that
go with
correct?
that, sorry.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Rick was just asking about the receiver of taxes. We've checked that in the
No.
past with the Association of Towns, and that salary does not have to be published.
The only concern about those town clerks.
Getting a lot of attention lately, I've noticed.
They've been getting a lot of attention.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Paul LeMoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renata.
Yes,
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, it will be carried as amended.
Yes.
Resolution 290, public hearing notice for consolidated assessment rolls.
Resolved that the public hearings to be held by the town board at the town hall on the Baker Road on Thursday, November 8, 2012, prevailing time as noted, for the purpose of hearing and consideration of objections which will be made to the completed consolidated assessment roll that are on file with the town clerk pursuant to town law, section 239 is as follows. And resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to have published in the Press Republican notice of said public hearing to be held at the town hall, Baker Road, and it be further resolved that a copy be given to the budget officer of this resolution.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to amend it to have, in case we need it, per council's advice, after he looks into it, 720 townwide lighting district and 725 townwide ambulance district.
The term I think we want to use there is consolidated.
I'm sorry, consolidated.
Consolidated lighting district, consolidated ambulance district.
Apologize.
So, Jim, you'll give a call probably to your
You'll have an email tomorrow.
your favorite. You might ask them in general, the whole process, it wouldn't hurt to review with them that we are appropriately managing that.
Okay.
And if we need to include, I do recall last year raising that same question. I don't specifically recall the response, so that's.
I remember I remember.
We had discussion, I remember the why, but it makes no sense. It's a townwide district, each one of them. Just
Okay.
doesn't seem logical.
No, I agree.
So we'll find out what the word is. Any other discussion? So, Tom, then your amendment would be that upon advice from council, we'll call Association of Towns Attorneys. If warranted, we would add the consolidated lighting district at 720 and the consolidated ambulance district at 725.
That's correct.
Roll call?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Paul LeMoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renata.
yes,
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries if amended. It's a new one. Resolution 291, authorization to interview vacancy for labor position in the water wastewater department.
Whereas a vacancy exists for a position of labor in the water and wastewater department. Whereas the Committee for Water and Wastewater have met and recommends that interviews be conducted for the labor position. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, does hereby authorize Director Scott Stoddard to advertise and schedule interviews for the position of labor in the water and wastewater department. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to Scott Stoddard, Director of Water and Wastewater Department, the budget officer, and the town clerk.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
for the purpose of discussion, I'll second it.
Mr. Renadin, discussion.
The second whereas, it says the Committee for Water, Wastewater met and recommends. It's not my recommendation. I had a long talk with Scott today, and while we are actually looking at a possibility of 2 vacancies in that department, one of them is at present being filled by a vested employee, and that funding may run out. We may lose that pair of hands at a moment. He expressed a deep concern that that would place us 2 people short. I basically stood by what I had told Ted at the board meeting at the work session, and I told him, I said, I have a hard time, Scott, that when we're faced with a shortage in October, that we can't make it last for another 2 months and push it into the next year. The funding is already there. So if the board were to vote to go ahead and authorize for interviews, and we were even to fill the position by the beginning of next month, the funding is still there because we had an untimely passing. That person's budget was budgeted, salary was budgeted for a year, so it's not like we're gonna be impacting the budget in a negative manner. But my take on this is that we've lasted since June or July. I think we can last another couple of months, take a look at where we are through the budget negotiations and discussions, and then make a decision for possibly January or February appointment.
You mentioned that we may lose the vested funding. I thought that was had already terminated in the summertime, and it got extended.
It was supposed to have been terminated in July, I believe, and it has been extended, but there is no definite date, and they did this in anticipation that the person might be hired by the town at that point. This position has to go out though to, be advertised, and there has to be interviews, and then they have to have civil service. So, in this instance, I think that we need to have the person in, we need to start the procedure to go through. The money was put in the budget for this particular position, and the fact that the lead time for training and stuff like that, to make sure the person gets it. Now, I assume if the same person did in fact qualify and was better than any other of the people that applied, and that includes in-house, then they would have the experience. But we don't know that the person that would be the one that was selected. So I think it's important that we go ahead and do this. There is a lot of work that needs to be done in that particular department, and before winter, when things might be breaking and they have to get down through this, it'd be good if they could get a chance to familiarize themselves with the things that they need to do.
If I could add comment to that, I really think we're working with a two-step process, and this is just step one. We authorize the advertisement. We gather a pool of candidates together, do the interviews, etc. Separate decision back before this board in regards to appointing someone to the position and the timeliness of that appointment. And having, been on that personnel committee, it's amazing how we can think something's gonna happen in a blink, and then we end up, where it takes us quite a bit of time. We went through this on a clerical position that we thought would have been, settled in a matter of, a couple of weeks, and it was a couple of months before we got things resolved. But anyways, I think it's, one step is to do this, and separately we will look at appointing a person and what the date for that appointment will be.
I understand that, your point is well taken, but I would hesitate to advertise for a position that we may not be filling for 2 months. And while I've expressed my opinion that I don't think we should fill this for 2 months, I think it wouldn't be to anybody's benefit to interview for a job that's not gonna start till maybe January, or maybe not at all. So, I would just offer that, I'm also not in favor of advertising for the position until the board indicates that they're ready to hire for the position.
I'd have to actually concur with Mr. Renadette. We're getting into really the slower part of the season for water and sewer. The construction season is really quickly passing us by. They're gonna wind up, dealing with water breaks or whatever in the middle of winter, and I really believe we have enough hands in that department to handle any water break without an additional pair of hands. To put this off until the springtime, I don't think puts that department in jeopardy whatsoever, and really probably save some money in that department for at least the foreseeable future to put towards some of the projects you talk about. Any of the projects, Tom, that you're talking about certainly haven't got town board approval yet in our design process. I mean, there's engineering that's gonna have to be done for some of those, some of the lift stations and stuff. There's engineering that's gonna push that into at least next summer before it really got started. And I just think hiring somebody right now just for that reason is just, and I agree with you, Gerard, that the advertising for a position that we don't intend filling right away is just a waste of everybody's time.
Long as we're all weighing in, I guess I will also. We're technically short 2 bodies. there's a lot of work that they can be doing that on some of the bigger projects that require a lot of engineering and so on in order to prep. But we're short too. The position that came to us, we found a place that eventually gravitated to the water department. I think we could really put them in a tough position as far as manpower if we remain too short and then lose the position that's currently funded. And we had some conversation during the work session about the use it or lose it mentality, and that really does bother me a great deal as well. But the conversation about the position began really last summer. I believe the department, I believe Scott has legitimate need not to lose another body. I suspect but we don't know, certainly having a vested funded position is better than town funded. I'd vote for that any day of the week. But that is past due, with some expectation at least that the young man will have an opportunity to interview and be a competitive candidate. I just think we put us in a tough spot. I support the request, but I concur that if we aren't going to go through the natural process of advertising, scheduling interviews, and bringing someone on board, and just going to ask them to stay in limbo, we shouldn't, because that doesn't really achieve anything. You know, you're hired in a couple of months, so if we do it, we do it. But it was something that had been given some very serious thought. I spent some time with Scott, and it's a topic we'll talk more about in the work session concerning the camera. And as I told him, I think it's very generic to where especially you, Gerard, and Paul are with this. How the heck do you justify bringing something like that on when we have such significant needs in our face? How is that going to benefit us? I've got to see a cost benefit. I would be even slightly excited if you could show me a way that might even generate some revenue to help offset our cost of ownership.
I would say that having just spent some time with the highway superintendent, they said they would be using it quite a bit.
Absolutely, and again, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to explain. Why are you spending money on this item when you need to spend money over here? Well, as you brought up in a work session a month ago, Tom, there's $10 million worth of things we need to do. And if we talk to other departments, we'll find more. I get very concerned. One of the reasons why we're doing better than many other municipalities in the Northeast and certainly in other areas is we have had a bit of a growth factor. There are a lot of reasons for it, and it's continuing. For some reason, the last couple of years, we haven't had the Route 3 meltdown. I swear, the first couple of years I was here, during the summer, it was, a couple times a month, we've got a break, and, you're banging on the doors of the hotels and the restaurants. Sorry, you're closed today. You're only gonna do that so many times, and the restaurants aren't gonna come, the jobs aren't gonna be there, and you know the microeconomic story. It's an age-old argument. We hear it all the time with the city of Plattsburgh and the fire department, with ambulance crews. How prepared do we have to be? Wouldn't it be nice if nothing broke, everything worked, and but it isn't that way. And when it happens, just like our snowplow drivers in the winter, if you get a dry spell, I remember one year we had our highway department working on the river access in Morrisonville. Was that the end of the Pier Lane? Mm-hmm. They find things. That's what good supervision does. But by God, you start getting snowstorm after snowstorm and nor'easter, those men are working around the clock. If you don't have them ready to go, they can't be responding. If we don't have the labor force we need and the tools, and maybe the camera. It's short-term thinking. We're going to pay a price later, and it might be a greater price by not discovering the needs, mitigating them when they're less complex. So I feel we have gotten it free year, plus we began the year without one labor. He's not asking for two. We got away with it at no expense to the town because of the funded position, that's gonna end. You know, you're asking the guy to go hunting, we're not giving him a lot of ammunition, so I would support. But if this passes, in my mind, we're going through the process to fill it, not to make a decision and do it sometime after 2013. Anyone want any concluding comments?
I'll just say that one of the things that they're trying to do in the department is upgrade the workforce so that they are able to handle all of the new types of technology. And that is one of the things that the basis of when they hire them. Even when you hire someone as a laborer, you want someone that can work into the other positions. And that's why it's important to be able to do that and have someone in that can do that. And this particular person has those skills already and has been using some of those skills. So I think it's important to do it.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
No.
Gerard Renadette,
No.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 292, Supervisor's Monthly Financial Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file the supervisor's financial report for the month of September 2012.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second. Mr. Lemoy, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
and Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 293, Codes and Zoning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer for the month of September 2012.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? I seem to bring it up pretty regular, but it is a little bit of a litmus, and we need to know, this would include, an addition on a garage, but activity, month of September, there were 50 building permits requested with 49 issued. It's a degree of activity. It's a range, as you have by your report, but it is nonetheless activity. That's good. Anyone have any other comments? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 294, Town Clerk's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Rick Collins, Town Clerk, for the month of September 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. Anyone have any regular business before I take the next step? Because I do need, go ahead.
I'll move that we go into executive session, discuss the work history.
We're going to need to, do you have a work history or
no, I'm sorry.
a personnel
Personnel
issue,
yes.
which is relative
Excuse
to
me, personnel issue, yes.
the position of finance
That's
manager?
what we want to do.
Discussion of the interviews. Counselor,
Get a second on that?
comfortable with that?
Yes.
Very much so.
I'll second it.
And I have the motion by Mr. Woods, seconded by Mr. Renadette. Any other discussion? Have a roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, we'll go into executive session. Time is 7:10.